Matt Hunt here, MDH Technologies. Thank you for joining me today. I would like to talk a little bit about network security, specifically managed network firewalls, right? So network security, big topic, could talk about it all day. There's all kinds of things categories and organization that you could give it to discuss, but specifically we're just going to hone in on the edge network firewall, right? And that's because this will apply to every business out there, okay? Really, even residential should have a firewall, but that's we don't really do a lot of residential. That's not really our main focus. So we're going to talk about the subject as it applies to small, medium, and even enterprise class business, right? So the first thing is, don't use the internet provider's equipment as a firewall. Generally, it's not very well suited for that role. And generally, IT administrators don't like them because often they'll use terms that are not industry standard. They'll work in ways that IT administrators are not necessarily familiar with because of the way that they're designed and engineered by the ISPs. They may not be fully featured in terms of all of the protection that you would get from business class firewall and those sorts of things. So lots of reasons you shouldn't use one. Don't use one. You definitely need a business class firewall if you're going to run and operate a business, right? So there are lots of options for a hardware firewall, business class firewall. However, to date, I am not aware of any retail store that you can walk into and actually purchase one off of the shelf, okay? Unfortunately, they don't sell these hardware firewalls on a retail basis. Typically, you have to go through an IT professional or purchase from a supplier online and have one shipped to you. Okay, so network security is constantly evolving, and that is because the hackers and the malicious people online are always evolving to find new ways to compromise and penetrate your network, right? So what does that mean to a small business? What does that mean to a medium or enterprise class business for that matter? Well, it means that you need to constantly evolve your security as well. In other words, don't expect to buy a firewall today, have it installed, and then be sure that your network's going to be secure for the next 3 or 4 years. It just doesn't work that way. So unfortunately, in today's environment, we just have to be more vigilant about security. And what that means is that you really need a managed service to give you the level of security that you most likely need, right? So although you can simply buy a firewall for maybe $300, $400, $500, $600 for an entry-level business class firewall, have it installed for a few $100s, that may be fine and dandy for the next 6 months or maybe even a year. But beyond that, you really need to revisit the configuration, right? Are things set up properly, right? Are there any updates for our firewall that we need to be aware of? When was the last time we audited the configuration to make sure that there weren't ports unnecessarily opened and this sorts of thing? If you've got any of the active security in terms of gateway antivirus or intrusion detection, prevention, or these sorts of things, are they updated? Are there blacklists that are being updated in the firewall that might need to be renewed or something like this? So really, a managed service is the very best approach for your edged firewall. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be an expensive proposition. One of the great things about managed firewalls is that typically there is no upfront cost for the hardware. It's fantastic. So you're saving money right off the bat, right? You're putting the responsibility of the hardware and the configuration on the service provider, the managed service provider who is providing you the managed firewall. So that's great too. So if you don't have staff internally that sort of understands how to administer and manage and audit that firewall configuration, then you really need somebody to do that for you, and that's what a managed firewall service will provide. Okay, so if there are updates that come out really pretty frequently, quite honestly for most firewalls, those will need to be applied in a timely manner. So the managed firewall service should take care of that as well. And finally, if there's any reporting requirements that you have in terms of could be anything from what your users may be doing, what sites they may be visiting, or what filtering has taken place, just the general status of things. If you've got any of those requirements or want to review those reports, then obviously that should be made available to you, and that's a part of the service that's included with the managed firewall as well. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. So if something traditionally, if you buy your own firewall, something goes wrong, if you're in warranty, that's great. You have to call the manufacturer, do a warranty claim and all of this. Now with a managed firewall service, that is the responsibility of the managed service provider. And what's great is that there's essentially no downtime for shipping, right? Meaning if something, traditionally you buy a firewall, something goes wrong with it, you have to box it up, ship it, they'll send you a replacement. Well, a managed firewall service, your service provider should have spare units available. They install the spare unit, you're up in a matter of minutes, and you continue on with your work, and the service provider takes care of any kind of exchanging or warranting of the hardware on their end, since they're responsible for that hardware. So it kind of takes away the headache of dealing with that, and just gives you the level of comfort that you need to know that your network is safe in terms of the edge firewall there. So once again, there's a lot more in terms of network security than just the edge firewall, but that's really the basic necessity in terms of running a business, whether you're a small business, medium-sized business, or even enterprise class business, right? So you need to keep a very secure edge firewall, and that ought to go quite a long way in terms of providing you the security that your organization needs. Matt Hunt here with MDH Technologies. I greatly appreciate your time. Thanks for dropping by, and I hope you check out some more of our videos or some more of the pages on our website.